Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to today's session on UML. Today, we will discuss what is UML, when we should use UML diagrams, and I will go through in detail with some examples. I will pick up some use cases which are relevant, easy to understand, and then we will figure out how UML diagrams helps throughout the life cycle of our software development. Myself, I am Chandra. Today's agenda includes introduction to the UML, types of UML diagrams, examples of UML diagrams, technical specification and architectural specification where we extensively use these UML diagrams. Why UML was invented? Many years ago, there were no standard for any notations to draw, and this was creating lot of confusion because every architect, every software developer, every engineer were drawing their diagrams in their own way with circles, with rectangles, with boxes, and with cloud and different depictions, and they have no standard notation. So that's where some serious set of engineers came together and invented something called unified modeling language. So why we should use UML, right? So if you see any blueprint of a house, right? So before construction of the house, you usually get the architecture of the building, how it looks, so that you can get a feel of it. Either it could be the elevation or the size of the rooms or the dimensions, how it looks, so that we can bring the architect, the customer, the stakeholders, the business manager and sales manager all into the same page. Similarly, in the software industry, if we are building some software, you cannot visualize the software. Yeah? So if it is a hardware, you can touch it, you can feel it, or you can create a prototype of it and feel it. But in software, you cannot touch and feel it, right? So before creating any such software, UML diagrams helps us to visualize it, how it would look like, and help us to bring all the stakeholders, architects, and business and sales managers to be on the same page so that they have the same set of expectations. So now we will try to understand who should use it and when we should use it. For example, if you are an architect or a software developer, software tester, technical project manager, data scientist, business analyst, and sales manager, or any of the other roles where you are part of software development, either product or project, then you should use unified modeling language. Any of these roles and responsibilities should have a brief idea of what is UML, how they are notated, so that they can understand what is written in the architectural documents, what is written in the technical specification, how does the workflow looks like. Now let's find out what can be UML be used for. UML these days, you can use it for multiple stuff. As I mentioned, one is for writing technical specification, architectural specification, explanation of different class diagrams, object diagrams, workflows, activity diagrams, and so on. Other than that, you can use the UML diagram for reverse engineering. Means if you have a set of legacy code which was written long ago, but now it needs to be re-evaluated for looking into the design and to make modifications, then you have to use this UML diagrams for reverse engineering. You can use it for designing. Also, some technologies like Microsoft and all are providing the mechanism to generate the code based on the UML diagrams. Means this will help us to be in line with the architecture. Whenever you make changes in the UML, the code also gets automatically generated. Now, having this background, let's now understand what is UML. UML, as I mentioned, is a unified modeling language. It is mainly used for visualizing, specifying, constructing and documenting the artifacts of a software intensive systems, means software complex system. And this is a graphical language, okay, which is going to be used for notations. It helps us to create a blueprint of the software what we are trying to build. Okay, then it acts as an interface between the different stakeholders of the system. It's an independent, platform independent language. It can be used for any object oriented or non-object oriented programming languages. And it is a standard modeling language. So let's now have a look into the software development lifecycle, and let's figure out which diagrams should be used where. Initially, the project kickoff happens and the requirement gathering starts, right? So where the sales colleagues approaches the customer and try to find out what type of problems does exist in the customer system and how a software has to be developed to overcome these type of problems what they have through the software, right? So this is the salesman or a technical consultant or analyst who goes and talks, right? So here we can use some of the UML diagrams. We will talk about that. Those are called use case diagram. Also, analysis phase, when we are analyzing the data or the prerequisites, we do some sort of UML diagrams. And during the design phase, development phase, testing phase, deployment phase, and operational maintenance phase, we use different UML diagrams. Now, which diagrams has to be used in which phase? To understand that, we need to understand what are the different types of UML diagrams. There are basically two types of UML diagrams. One is structural and another diagram is called behavioral diagrams. Structural has got 7 diagrams. They are called class diagram, object diagram, component diagram, and deployment diagram, profile package, and composite structures. Similarly, on the behavioral side, you have use case, sequence, state machine, activity, communication, timing, and interaction and overview diagrams. How do we understand structural behavior, right? Anything which is static, which looks like a structure, right? For example, what is the structure of a building, right? What is the structure of a motor? Then this is called structural diagrams, which represents the physical aspects of it. Behavioral is dynamic aspects, means when the motor is running, how it is rotating, what is the temperature on it, what is the vibration on it, what is the speed on it. This is how we represent the dynamic aspects of different diagrams. Now we understood the software development life cycle. We understood different types of UML diagrams. Now let's relate few of them, and we will also discuss in this series all of these diagrams with some concrete use cases. During requirement gathering phase, we use something called use case diagrams. These are behavioral diagrams and they are dynamic in nature. Then during the design phase, we use class diagrams, and during development phase, we use activity and sequence diagram and state diagrams. And also during the deployment, we use component diagram and deployment diagram. In our next video, we will discuss all of these in detail and with an example so that you can understand it in detail. Thank you very much for listening this UML training series. You can go through specific diagrams which you are interested in the subsequent videos. Thank you.